This is Nancy Newhard.
I'm Donna Byrne. Welcome to another deep dive
into art. We have two exhibits in the gallery, some very bright and colorful work by Leigh Woodward, and then we have David Connolly, who is from Lexington's work in the back part of the gallery, and it's very different. It's very minimally colored. It's very serene and pleasing, but it's very different. And Donna's going to tell you a little bit about how it ended up here.
When we were hanging on Saturday, David's wife Marjorie said, "I need to tell you a story." She said, "I had never been here, and I came with some friends from Lexington over here." And she said, "I walked into the gallery and I was blown away." And she said it wasn't just about what the pictures were, but how they were placed and how they were beside each other. And you gave the art room to breathe. And she said, "I went back and told David, you need to check this place out." So a warm fuzzy for us that we recognize the skill that our curator has and what she can do. And I also want to say something else. I was here on Sunday, and that was my first gallery installation. And so all the pictures were lined up around, and Nancy pulled this one first. And she said, "Okay, I want this one on the back wall." And then she pointed over to this one over here, and she goes, "Okay, I see the red, and the red goes with there. And then
intense color
the red here, and we need to put them together." And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And that's the process of hanging, that it's more than just slapping pictures up on a wall. It's what the groupings are, what merges from one to another. So I learned a lot on Sunday.
And you were a huge help too, thank you. To follow up on Donna's kind words, and I really appreciate that, the goal is to make the entire exhibit tell a story about the artist, but each of the paintings also has to speak. And so you want to put things with each other that can converse. And that all sounds very esoteric and airy-fairy, and I can hear my left-brain brother laughing out loud at this. But certain pieces do go together. And sometimes you can tell, and sometimes you just have to move them around. I assume that every painting is going to get very carefully moved at least 3 times before it sort of settles into its own little niche where it's going to be.
We were talking about that they have to speak to each other, and I think these two work. Again, they were spaced out away from each other, but when they were put this way, and I watched as they were put up, it works. There is a connection between the two, and they do speak to each other.
Okay, and so part of it is that the pieces on the wall here are all very abstract and contemporary, and you can't say there's a dog or a horse or a bicycle there, but they are similar in type. They both have that horizontal flow.
Right.
They both use the watercolor very loosely, and you can see the juicy runs and edges in these where something's been dragged through. You see little buttons of where he's collaged something else on top of them to fit into that space.
I love the little pieces of collage. I think he said polymer clay.
Polymer clay.
That he has put with it, and it just gives it beyond the 2D effect. And it's really an interesting piece, and there's a little bit up here, but more so here. And you find that in many of his works, that there's little pieces of polymer clay that he's added in, because he does work with watercolors, but he also works with collage as well, and he's very well merged the two.
Sometimes 2 dimensions is not enough. You need that 3rd dimension. And so what he's actually done is something I've not seen done before. He uses polymer clay to raise up, and then this is actually a little piece of watercolor paper that's been glued on top of the polymer clay and added into it. And when you have a really bad painting and you're frustrated with it, there's nothing wrong with tearing it up and saving all those bits and bobs, because you can use them somewhere in a collage. And that's exactly what he's done in some of these. 2 of the pieces have a particular message for David and for the public, and they are both taken from Old Testament, the book of Isaiah and the book of Leviticus. And they both of those verses talk about taking in the person from the outside and making him feel welcome. Woe to those who make unjust laws, who issue oppressive decrees to deprive the poor of their rights and withhold justice from the oppressed of my people, making widows their prey and robbing the fatherless, it says in Isaiah. And in Leviticus it says, when an alien resides with you in your land, you shall not oppress the alien. The alien who resides with you shall be to you as a citizen among you. You shall love the alien as yourself, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And if you look at the paintings themselves, they talk about, or they express visually, isolation and both as an individual and the isolation of groups within a society. And I think that they're both very powerful pieces.
We're here with Leigh Woodward's work, and if you go from David Connolly to Leigh Woodward, it's like you're met with an electric eel of color. It is vibrant, it is exciting, and you see the texture and you want to touch it. But these three pieces, again, kudos to putting them together like you're in the yellow submarine floating through the ocean with the fish. And then I think of, this says flowers ablaze in the garden, but I think of
Jellyfish
or coral in the deep blue sea. So I'm just amazed at her process, and I understand August 10th she's going to have a class here to go through the acrylic and her process. So if you're interested, that would be a pretty cool class to see. In about a week, check out our website for that. You can sign up.
Okay.
Trinkets, crowns, and baubles. What a great title for this crow and all that's around it. I love the crown.
I love the fact that, we usually see crows as sort of messengers of some dark...
Harbingers of darkness.
Yeah, harbingers of darkness and in the realm of Poe and the others. And this is a party crow. He's got his hat on, he's got his jewelry. He is ready for Mardi Gras. He is ready to party somewhere. And he's just wonderful. But at the same time, he hasn't lost that intense gaze.
Right.
This show was really fun to put together because so often she's used a lot of similar colors, but they all seem to sort of flow together, and you'll go along and you'll do blues and purples, and then all of a sudden you'll have a pop like the one behind you of the bumblebee garden. And then you go along and you've got bears and mermaids and fish, and then you've got a big giant hummingbird. So it was just like playing with colored blocks when you're 5 to put this thing together. It was fun like that.
With our crow is the hummingbird in flight. And again, these colors that she's used in other things, but it just melds together in this. And I love the snout and the eyes on it and the intense gaze.
And I love the way she's worked gold into the surface. And we sort of think of hummingbirds as something that flitters and flies so quickly that you almost don't see it, but they leave sort of a gold resonance in the air. And it amazes me that she can take these hot colors,
right,
and control them without restraining them.
And there's so many lines going through. You just want to take your finger and trace all of the different lines and curves that are in this, because you have lines here, and you have little V's here, and
little feathers here.
Right.
Little feathery things.
But different feathers there, and just amazing.
And please note that we're staying the appropriate 6 inches off the surface of the paintings. But it's really hard with these. But you can touch them if they're yours.
That's true. And not a bad price either.